All right, so I want to do a quick video to just share with you guys my Optispark experience. Unfortunately, it was quite a long experience, quite a long ordeal, and quite a long learning process that mechanics were involved that didn't understand what was going on. I wound up having to do a lot of research, and so I thought I'd put this little video together, hopefully save you a lot of time that I had to spend learning all this stuff. So my first Camaro Z28 was a 95. Well, it was actually a 92, but then I had a 95. So the 95's got the LT1. It has an Optispark distributor. Now, I had that car. I put 80,000 miles on that car, and I never heard of Optispark. I never knew about the distributor. I never knew about any of that stuff. That car always ran fantastically. Mobil 1 and 92 or 93 octane, whatever's best gas I could get, and that car was a champ. It was a great car. So then, you know, when my son was on the way, I sold that car. It had over 100,000 miles on it, and I sold the car. It was pretty rough, and a lot of those miles were tough. I was 20 years old when I bought it. So fast forward 15, 20 years, I had a handful of other cars, BMWs, Corvettes, other cars, and I just missed my Camaro. And I found a 93 Camaro with, I think it was 26,000 miles on it when I bought it. Got it home, loved the car, beautiful, got it detailed, was driving it in the summertime, and it wasn't long before it left me on the side of the road. So the first time, the engine really shuddered a lot, really violently skipping, and then cut out. Then if you let the car sit and cool for about an hour, well, about half hour, it'll start back up and run for a while. And then the Optispark symptoms will usually represent. And they can be pretty vastly different. It's amazing how different the symptoms can be problem to problem. So let the car sit for half hour, 45 minutes, fires right back up, get out on the road. You can drive it for 10 minutes. It starts coming up to heat. Now this time, the engine would just instantly stop. It would stall out immediately. But you know, obviously the battery power is still on the car. I'd throw it in neutral, coast to the side of the road, and I'd be there for half hour, 45 minutes until I could start the car back up and drive a little while. So I took it to my mechanic. Now, my mechanic kind of threw both of us off too because he has a 97 Z28. So he never really knew that there was a difference with Optispark in 93 and 94. So when Chevrolet started using the LT1 and 92 in the Corvette, 3 and 4, they used a natural ventilation system on the Optispark unit. Well, that doesn't work. It's not enough airflow through the Optispark unit. So what happened, I guess, like atmospheric gases build up inside of it, and it's really problematic. It really becomes a problem. So for Camaro, for 92, 93, and 94, those units will just continually go bad. My Uncle Richard has a 92 Corvette that just last year or the year before just turned 20,000 miles. Same problem, completely broke down. Similar type of symptoms. He got it, managed to limp it to his mechanic, and they replaced the Optispark. Unfortunately, my mechanic, not knowing all of the information, or me, we just replaced it with another 93 unit and the naturally vented unit. The car ran perfectly fine for a couple of months, and then bang, the unit failed again. So I took the car back. They warranted the unit, but you have to take the water pump off the front of the engine. It's a bit of a project. I had to pay all this money each time to get this done. So then they replaced the unit for free. So they put in, this is my third Optispark unit in like 4,000 miles. And this car has now left me on the side of the road probably somewhere around 10 times. So a lot of problems and a lot of headaches. So after doing a lot of research, 92, 93, and 94 for Camaro, they had the Optispark. It was a passively ventilated system, and the ventilation just wasn't good enough. So Buick, who had run the LT1, had used active venting from day one of the LT1 motor, but Chevrolet did not. They used passive venting. Well, starting in 1995, Chevy switched the Optispark units to active venting off the air manifold. They also switched to a mass air intake sensor and got away from the manifold air pressure sensor. So they changed a handful of things in there. They also, when they changed to the vented unit, they changed what spins the unit. On the front of the cam, there was a spline. And so for 93 and 94, it was spline drives, basically like a gear. Well, in 95, up to 97 on the LT1 with the Camaro, they went to pin drive. So unfortunately, you can't just take a 95 unit and put it on a 93 or a 94 because it's pin drive and you have to have spline drive. So the good news is that there is a guy who reworks these distributors. He sells modified distributors that have spline drive in them and they're actively vented, and you can patch that into your intake system. So unfortunately, the bad news is that those units are not cheap. So I paid $400, I think it's $450 or $500 for my MSD vented unit for my 93, 94 Camaro. And then I brought it to my mechanic, who was like, oh, this is pretty cool, and installed the ventilation line into my air intake and then replaced it with this distributor. Now that car's got 7,000 miles on it since then, and it sings. I mean, it's run like a brand new car ever since I had that unit installed. It completely solved all those problems. So that's the deal with the Optispark. So if people that have Camaros that are 95, 6, 7, they're probably like, why do these people think Optispark is so bad? Because it's a whole different thing for 93 or 94. They changed it, and and now this isn't like your average people. Like the gentleman that was working on the car is a seasoned mechanic who owns a 97 Camaro. A lot of people are unaware that there was a difference between 93 and 4 and then the other Optispark units. So the bad news is that if you have a 93 or a 94 or in a Corvette a 92 Optispark unit, you really need to get your hands on one of these modified units that have a vented line but spline drive to work with the lobe on your cam. So that was my Optispark adventure. I gotta tell you, it was quite a debacle. I mean, I really went through the ringer on this one. I've had 36 different automobiles, and I've never had any kind of maintenance or mechanical issue cause this much havoc and this much confusion. The first time that car, the Optispark unit, left me on the side of the road, I happened to be in a construction site. And so a guy stopped in a newer Camaro, and we pushed the 93 off the road. Now, this car's got 27,000 miles on it at the time. We push it off the road into this parking lot. I call my wife to come pick me up, and she's like, well, where are you? I'm like, I didn't even know. I pushed it into a parking lot, next to the road I broke down on. I look up, and I'm at a porn shop. So it was it was quite an adventure. And unfortunately for me, I didn't have access to any of my tools. We had moved. My tools were in storage. I didn't have my garage. I didn't have a garage available to me at that time. I didn't have a garage set up. So I was kind of at the mercy of a mechanic with this, which definitely made things more complicated. I want to circle back a little bit. The passive ventilation. There was 2 iterations of the passive ventilation. On the first one, the holes were drilled near the top of the Optispark unit, and those were the worst units. And then they changed the passively ventilated units, and they put the holes near the bottom. So the passively vented units with holes near the bottom seemed to hold up a little bit better than the ones with the holes near the top. But the units that really seem to be going along the distance is the actively vented ones. So if you've got a 92, 3, or 4 Corvette or a 93 or 4 Camaro, you really want to look for a unit that has 2 things. It is spline drive, and it has the air intake and out. And it's a larger tube comes down from the manifold, and then a smaller tube goes out the other side. and it ventilates that unit to stop things from building up in it to cause you a lot of problems. The other item with the Optisparks that is known to be an issue is that they are located right under the water pump, and you've got a high electrical current, and introducing a liquid into that will also destroy the Optispark. So I would recommend that you take some silicone and silicone up the electrical connector that goes back to the PCM when you're putting the Optispark in, just to try to protect it from moisture and getting taken out by the water pump. And so, the kits are pricey and to go that route, but I did some poking around, and there was a couple of kits available on eBay where you get the unit, you get the hoses, you got everything you need to solve this problem. And there was a couple of retailers that said that they had some kits. Now, I've seen that before, and you go to order it, and then they say it's out of stock. So, that's what you're looking for. If you have one of those cars, you want that actively vented, and you want that spline drive. But even to this very day, I found that there's still confusion with Optispark. I found not one, but 2 units that were listed for cars for 94 to 97. Like, that's not right. A 94 is spline drive, and a 95 through 97 is pin drive. You can't have a 94 to 97. So here we are talking retailers selling these units, and they've got the years wrong on the cars that they work for. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. If you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Kevin's Garage.